How'd you make an Australian come?
Oh.
That's right, you jizz on him with a CC build. Most content creators get better at editing over time to deliver better and better content. Me? Nope. I get slightly better just so I can deliver more shit jokes. So, onto the Jizz Ninja builds. I like calling them Jizz Ninjas. Run around going, you get a cum shot, and you get a cum shot. It's always sad when you foam a female NPC and the first thing they say is, I can't feel my legs. It's the only time I ever hear it. So upset. Although I do hear, on repeat, what is this sticky shit? Which, yeah, not my proudest moment. So, if you would like to become an absolute pest and get yourself put on 3 separate lists, this is the video for you. Now, annoyingly, as a CC in this game, you have literally no offense or defense. As I like to say whenever I'm doing CC, my answer to everything is I do the foam. That's literally it. That's all you do. You do the foam. Now, despite the fact that I would personally argue CC is some of the best supporting type builds you can make in the Division 2, and it's also a build that I would highly recommend for if you've got like a regular group of friends that you play with. I would recommend at least one of you making a CC build. It's amazing how quick and easy CC can make a lot of content. However, not everything really requires CC, and if you are going to have someone as a CC on your team, I would heavily suggest that at the very least you've got some serious DPS going on, because if you don't, it then ends up being a waste of time. If you ever watch the CC player try and keep things CC'd while everyone's running a skill build, it's a little bit hilarious, a little bit sad, and honestly, I kind of cry. I mean, I cry a lot anyway. But yeah, seeing a CC struggle to exist is just tear-jerking in every way, shape and form. Another thing is you really do need to trust your teammates. One, your team needs to trust you to be able to get that CC down and pushing, as well as you need to be able to trust your damage dealers to deal with the enemies as quick as possible. And the reason that is so important is, like I said earlier, you have no offense or defense as a CC, so if things do go wrong, you are going to be the first to have a jizz coma, i.e. hit the ground, pick up glasses, play floor, whatever you want to call it. So you need to be able to rely on your damage dealers to deal with the situation at hand while you look for your nutsack. Look in for a perfect demonstration. Luckily I'm playing with Rise of Brutality, who is more than capable of dealing with pretty much everything that we're going to be showing in this video. However, he was respectfully volunteered by me to help me out with this, and of course he performed flawlessly, and I'm just being an absolute hazard because I can. Anyway, CC, short for crowd control. The idea is to immobilize or just in some way inhibit the enemy so that your damage dealers have the maximum possible uptime for as long as possible. Typically, foam is your best bet on this, and along with running a CC build, you will typically either run Jammer Pulse, EMP Sticky, and a niche one is the shock traps. These can come in clutch, but they can also completely fuck over your team. It is going to be completely dependent on what you want as a CC or what your team is needing at any particular time. So I'm going to run over some of the CC builds I use. This is one of my favorites. It's quite unique. 4-piece Eclipse using the chest. We are running a Brazos backpack with Creeping Death, and the holster should be Picaro's, but I'm having difficulty getting the exact one I need. This is my very poor attempt at making a CC build that can look after itself. The idea will eventually be to have skill tier 6 with 2 red cores plus Scorpio, which should allow me to look after myself. I also have Stinger High for a little bit of extra damage, but obviously our main purpose here is going to be as a CC. As a CC, you don't need the Eclipse backpack, you will need a backpack with Creeping Death. Because of course your main role here is not to do damage, Survivalist is basically king, as well as having a weapon with Sledgehammer. The overall build that I'm going for with what I've just shown is meant to look a little bit more like this. Again, the only difference really here is Picaro's holster rather than just a normal Brazos holster. This will give me an extra 15% weapon damage. I do need it to come with status effects, so I can change the blue core to yellow to put me back to skill tier 6. And again, yeah, everything else is the same. This just means I have 30% weapon damage, potentially another 20 from Scorpio, and then the amplifier from Scorpio as well. Your standard CC build is this. Again, foam, jammer pulse, 4-piece Eclipse. I have a Golan backpack. It might be worthwhile you going for a Hanayu one just because they'll be easier to farm. But Golan with Creeping Death is generally considered to be god tier just because it will come in handy with so many builds. 1-piece Golan, 1-piece Hanayu is your standard setup. You can also swap to BTSU gloves along with a hive. What hive it is doesn't really matter, but I would suggest either a Healing Hive, Stinger, or potentially the Artificer if you're running Technician. This will just allow you to have overcharge for your foams, which obviously is a massive increase in duration, the ensnare health, etc, etc. Another variation is of course running the perfect Creeping Death backpack with either Hanayu or Golan gloves depending on the way in which you wish to go. I will be going over perfect Creeping Death in just a minute. Hold your horses. We have one more build to look at, and it is kind of niche / unique. This is running Technician, and we might notice that we're running Dodge City holster. The reason for this is we have a D50 with Future Perfect. This just gives us an alternative way in which we are able to overcharge just ourselves so that we are able to get greater foam usage. Other than that, it's not really that worthwhile. It's more of a very niche thing in a very niche team setup. Anyway, perfect Creeping Death. Now, just from the off, my opinion is it's not really that worth it, and it's especially going to become not really that worth it with the new season coming out. However, there are circumstances for it, and the only reason I say it's not really worth it is simply just because numbers. So I'm going to go over what I mean, and then it's largely going to be up to you. Our standard CC piece, or build, comes with a Hanayu and a Golan. Between these two pieces we get 56% skill haste and 30% status effect. Obviously we're running normal Creeping Death. The difference between normal and creeping is it goes from an 8 meter range to a 10 meter range, and the cooldown goes from 15 seconds to 10 seconds. Now for me, although the range is nice, going from 8 meters to 10 meters, I don't really think it's enough to make that much of a difference. And as long as you're playing with a well-coordinated team, which if you're playing CC would mostly recommend, that increase in range is going to be completely negligible because the range of Eclipse is 15 meters. Problem solved. As well as the cooldown. A lot of people like pointing out to me the cooldown. If you need your cooldown on Creeping Death to be that low, you're using either 1, your CC build very incorrectly, or 2, your team is not doing enough damage for you to even warrant being a CC in the first place. Just my personal opinion. We then run into the issue of how do you run it. You can either go the Courier with Hanayu, this will still give you 56% skill haste, but we drop 10% in status effect, going from 30 to 20. Or we can run a Golan piece. This gives us our 30% status effect back, but we've now dropped to 46% skill haste. In terms of like a numbers point of view, the Courier really isn't actually worth what a lot of people think it is. It is very, very good in very niche situations, but for the average player, you're not really going to come across those niche situations. However, there was the electric set advertised in the PTS, which would give us 46% skill haste and 40% status. Have fun, good luck, don't die, it's bad for the health.
I've told you so many times to stop nutting on all the towels.
I did not nut on any towels.